right? The basic rule, we're going to deal with Reuven and Shimon, and they're both married. Reuven dies, has no children. So the woman, the Ashes Reuven, is still tied to Shimon through a force called Zika. The Torah requires the brother of the person who died, if they died without having children, then there's an automatic connection made between the brother. If there's 5 brothers, the Zika is with all the brothers. So there's a requirement for either the brother to do Yibum and to live with her, to marry her, and Lahakim Shem Akiva Meis, in order to make sure that there's a legacy that continues with children of the dead brother, or the live brother, rather than this Yibum, gives Chlitza, and with the act of Chlitza breaks the Zika, and therefore the woman's now allowed to marry anybody she wants, but she can't marry anybody she wants until Chlitza is performed, because it's as if she's married to the brother. It's not Kiddushin, but Zika is not as strong as Kiddushin. She's not as full as an Ashes Ish, but she can't get married to somebody else until that Zika is broken through Chlitza. That's the general overview of Yibum and Chlitza that I want to start with.
Any pagam in the children? Is there pagam in the children?
Yes, because if the woman marries without having had Chlitza done, it says, Lo yavo eshes hameis hachutza liish zar. It's a lo yavo, it's a lot. So if she violates that and she marries somebody, violating that lav, so the children are not mamzerim, according to the Chachamim. Rabbi Kiva holds that if you have a child, even with a chayve lav, it creates mamzeris. But that's not the normative halacha regarding regular. We'll see whether it's more stringent by Yibum. There's some that hold that it's more Yibum, that it's more stringent than non-mamzeris. We'll see there's a teacher that holds even mamzeris here, but that's not the normative opinion.
So they can marry any Ben Yisrael, then they can marry any Bas Yisrael, then do we paskin that way? Is there a pagam in terms of marriage of Bas Yisrael?
According to Rabbi Kiva, yes.
Yeah, so by the way, but we don't paskin that way. So
I don't think so, but we'll get there.
Okay,
We'll get there. Okay. We'll get there. Now, the woman who right now is an almana only, technically would be able to be married to a Kohen. But if she lives with an Ashes Hameis, if she lives without Chlitza, she's a halachic zona. On the other hand, if she gets Chlitza, she also can't marry a Kohen. So either way, she can't marry a Kohen.
It's like a get.
It's like a get. So either way, she can't marry. Either she's a halachic zona, or she got Chlitza, which also would be like a grusha.
If brother Kohanim brothers, and one doesn't have kids, the other one's a Yavama.
Yeah, because a Kohen's allowed to marry an almana. Only a Kohen Gadol can't marry an almana. So if the brother's a Kohen Gadol, then no. But if it's a regular Kohen Hedyoit, a Kohen Hedyoit can marry an almana and therefore could perform Yibum.
Okay.
However, if someone had given Chlitza to a woman, the Kohen can't marry a woman who's receives Chlitza. It's like a woman who's been a grusha. We're going to see that's going to come out in the halachas in this Masechta. But this Mishnah deals with something more complicated. For example, let's just start talking about it. Reuven and Shimon. Reuven married Shimon's daughter. Person's allowed to marry a niece, right? Shimon had a daughter, Reuven married her. So Reuben's wife is Shimon's daughter. Is everybody with me?
Yeah.
Reuven dies. Now the daughter falls to her father, Shimon. Is Shimon allowed to do Yibum or Chlitza?
Not even, no, nothing.
No, because she's an erva. She's an erva. So if an erva falls to a brother, there's no nothing. It's pater me'yibum, pater me'chlitza. The Zika doesn't even hold. Just like if a father tries to give kiddushin to his daughter, there's no kiddushin. There's no chalois in the kiddushin. So in a similar way, there's no zika created if the wife was an erva. But it's
But
more
if there
complicated.
were more, Ernie, if there are more brothers, then the second brother can give her Yibum, right?
Yes,
Because she's not an error anymore with the uncle.
correct,
Or is she?
correct. So let's say there's Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, right? So Yehuda can do Yibum. There's no erva there,
Okay.
and he can do Chlitza. But let's say there's only two brothers, Reuven and Shimon. Then
Yeah.
now, let's say Reuven had other wives. Reuven had the daughter of Shimon, but also had Leah and Rivka, other wives, who are called Soros, co-wives. Now, those wives also fall to Shimon. But because these wives were all connected while they were married, the Soros are potter as well. That's the chiddush of this Mishnah. The co-wives, if their co-wifeship was that one of the other wives was an erva relationship to the husband, then none of the women fall to Yibum or Chlitza. That's the chiddush of our Mishnah. Not only that, if one of the so now let's say you had Reuven, Shimon, Yaakov, and Yehuda. Let's say Yehuda is miyabim, one of those co-wives. That's not a problem. The problem is only with Shimon, who is the erva with the daughter, with his daughter. But let's say Levi or Yehuda married one of those tsaras, and then Levi dies, and the woman falls back to the original brother, it remains usher forever. Okay? Ad soifa oilam. There are 15 kind of women, relationships, that when they fall, there's no yibum or chlitza. Ve'eluhein, bito, ubas bito. Right? Reuven marries Shimon's granddaughter, bas beno, or the daughter of his son. Or bas ishto, his stepdaughter, who is an erva to him. Ubas, like, for example, she had a daughter from a different marriage when he married her. That's bas ishto. Ubas beno, let's say she had a son and this is a granddaughter. Ubas bita, or a granddaughter through her daughter. All of these would be an erva. If Reuven dies and these women fall back to Shimon, Shimon would not be able to marry them. Now, chamoisoi, let's say Reuven had married Shimon's mother-in-law. And then Shimon dies. The mother-in-law falls to Reuven, to Shimon. He can't marry her because of chamoisoi. Ve'em chamoisoi. If Reuven had married his mother-in-law's mother or his father-in-law's mother, or achoiso me'imo, if Reuven would have married Shimon's mother, sister, means they didn't share the same mother. If they shared the same mother, Reuven wouldn't be allowed to marry her either one. We're talking about Reuven and Shimon are brothers from the same father, but not from the same mother. And therefore, Reuven could have married Shimon's mother, sister. Va'achoi simo. The sister of his mother. Va'achoi sishto, the sister of his sister. Ve'eshes achiv mi'imo. Reuven married Eshes Achi from the same, they had different mothers, right? But Reuven and Shimon had the same father, but different mothers. And this would be a sister-in-law from the mother. Again, if Reuven had married that woman, and then Reuven dies, and this woman falls back to Shimon, it's Achos Ishto, which he's not allowed, it's an erva. And then a complicated case, which we're going to have to get familiar with. So I want to read this Rashi. Eishes achiv shelo haya ba'olamo. Kigon Reuven shemeis below bani. Reuven and Shimon are brothers. Reuven dies, no children. However, noilad lo ach la'achar misa u'shmo Levi. When Reuven died, there was only Reuven and Shimon. But then after the death of Reuven, Levi, another brother, is born. Levi is born. So Levi is alive when Reuven was never alive. V'amad Shimon v'yabim yishto. Shimon went to marry Reuven's wife because he had died without children. V'lo isha acheres. Right? Levi never had a chiyuv yibum because when Reuven died, Levi was not alive yet. Now, normally you're not allowed to marry your brother's wife. It's called the Isser Veshasach. But for Shimon, when Reuven died, there was a heter to marry the Eshesach. It's called Yibum. Levi never had that heter. So that wife remains usher to Levi forever.
Why? She's Ashes Shimon now. Who
Right.
cares that she was Ashes Reuven? She's
Right.
Ashes Shimon.
But at the time Levi was born, he had never seen her beheter. So it's called Eshesach Shlohaya Boilamo. So if Shimon marries Reuven's wife and then Shimon dies and that woman falls to Levi, Levi cannot be miyabim her. Because it's Eshes Achiv Shlohaya Boilamo. Because it remains, the Isra of Eshesach remains for Levi forever. Because they was not brothers with Reuven. And exactly, even though, as Kenny points out,
Who cares?
he's Shimon's brother, but that's the quirk in this law. Similarly, the chalaso. Well, let's just continue Rashi. And Shimon may have had another wife, and both wives fell. The tzara is also potter. Like any Eshesach. But the Eishes Achiv Shlai Boilamo Levi was never around. Shemeis Kohen Leidoso Lo Sharele. It's never permitted to him. The two brothers had to live together. Now, Kenny's going to say, well, Shimon and Levi lived together. But Shaisla Mishiv Achas Boilam Hilkach. Mishirmeis Ruve Nesra Levi Yisr Oilam. Keishasach Sheyesh Labonim. You have to view that woman as if she had children with Ruvain. Therefore, for Levi, it's never permitted. Afilu Achshav. Shenafel v'lefanav mikach nesui echav Shimon shayboy lamo. That's Kenny's question. Even though this woman is falling to Levi through the koyach of the nesuin with Shimon, asura lo b'shvil Ruvain. Uchshem shi asura lo kach tzarasa. Therefore, since there's an isser for Levi, if Shimon had a co-wife at Tzara, Eish is Shimon acheres asura. The afila kaman al kol harayis ha'meres alav v'korish shenaflu fanav liyibum im tzarosayim sheshteim pturos. When the co-wives fall with one of these wives that are asur b'kores, no. V'nasan anush kores. There's an isser kores if you marry them. Shem achish shepotr nakasav v'meres alav v'isr eishes ach sheyesh l'banim. V'kaloso, daughter-in-law. Shemeis b'noi, person's son had married a girl. And the son had died. The Nasa Echav Kalosa, the brother married the daughter-in-law. The father can't marry the daughter-in-law, but the brother could. And then, Asura Lolo Oilam. Lafilu Lachar Misas B'no. Then when she falls B'yibum in that situation, even if the son dies, it remains Asur. So the Mishnah says, they and their co-wives are potter from chlitz and yibum. There's no zika at all. The kulan imesu. Now, if these women had died before the brother had died, right? For example, Ruvain married Shimon's daughter. And we've been talking about the case where Reuven dies. Then the woman falls. And Reuven had other wives. So all the other wives are also Bechlitza and Yibum as well. But if Shimon's daughter, who had married Reuven, dies first, and she's out of the picture, and then Reuven dies, then the Tzoros fall. It's only if Reuven dies and the erva still is there, that potters the co-wives. But if that erva woman died, the co-wives are open season. Or if that girl, the daughter of Shimon, had done miyun. Miyun means Shimon was not alive. Normally when a father gives over his daughter l'kiddushin under 12 as a katana, it's a kiddushin midoraisa. Needs a get. However, let's say there is no father, and the mother and the brothers marry her off to some man. So that girl is allowed to do miyun. I don't want to get married. Even if she's been married, they have children. She can't have children because she's under 12, but she doesn't need a get. She walks away. And if in this case, if Shimon's daughter had done miyun, it's as if she died. Therefore, if there are co-wives, the co-wives will fall to Shimon. That's not a problem anymore. On his garshu, or let's say Reuven had divorced her. Oshanimsu islandess. Islandess is a state that she's 18 years old and you examine her and she has no secondary sexual characteristics. She can't have children, physically impossible. She hasn't matured properly. She has some kind of genetic disease. She's a Klinefelter syndrome. Sorasea mutaros, the co-wives are permitted. These cases cannot be described by mother-in-law, the mother, because if they were islandists, they would never be able to have children. There would be no mother-in-law. So the Mishnah is pointing out that those things don't work by islandist or miyen, because with miyen, they would never have children to become an in-law.
If a man is an islandist, the brother is an islandist, does he make chalitza or does he do nothing?
No, nothing.
Putter for everything.
Correct, for the same reason.
Yeah.
We're going to learn that.
Doesn't only apply to women, then, yeah.
Was? It's going to be the same thing. The whole din of Yibum is to have children. So if he can't have children, there's no shaychus.
Does it talk about age also? An age of a person?
Well, yeah, you got to be a gadol. A cotton, there's no chlitz or Yibum by a gadol.
And what about a senior citizen?
It'll be the same thing. A zaken who cannot have relations, there'll be certain dinim regarding that as well.
Yeah.
Ketzad poitrois tzorasein. How does this work? Like we said, Shimon's daughter or any of these other relatives marries Reuven. And Reuven has other wives. V'lo isha acheres. Reuven dies. So kashem shebito p'tur. Just like when the daughter falls back to Shimon, there's an erva relationship, and therefore there's a patur. Kach tsaras p'tura. So the co-wife is patur as well. Halchat tsaras bito. Let's say one of Reuven's wives went. V'nisas le'echav hasheni, married Levi. And Levi also has co-wives. V'lo isha acheres. Umeis. And then Levi dies. Kishem shetzaraso bito p'tura. So when this woman falls back to Shimon, she's a tzara bito. So now the tzara of Levi, because she was married with Levi, and kach tzara tzaraso p'tura. Afilu hey meya, even if we do this 100 times. Ketzah. Mesu tzara mutaros. How does it work that if they died, we're talking about if the erva woman died, that the tzara is mutter? So the Mishnah explains again. Shimon's daughter marries Reuven, and Reuven has other wives. And Mesa Bito, and this Shimon's daughter dies, or Reuven divorces her in his garsha, and then Reuven dies. So Rasa Muteris, then, since at the time of death of Reuven, there is no erva connected to Reuven. So the tzara is permitted to be miyabim or muchlats from Shimon. Let's say there was a girl who could have done miyun, but didn't do miyun. So then the tzara of scholeses v'lo misyabemes. The co-wife cannot have yibum, because it's a tzara erva. It's not a p'tur legamre, needs a chlitza, because it wasn't full nesuin. Because she could have broken it with miyun.
So Yibum doesn't depend on being able to have a child, even though we got rid of islandess, etc. We have M Chamaso and the M of Chamaso. So you have very old ladies here, I would imagine.
No. It's got to be. It's not old. Remember, Kenny, they used to get married at 13. They were grandparents at 26. They could have still been fertile, these women.
Okay. So
islandess is potter because you can't have children.
Right.
The whole
So
purpose
that's what I was thinking is that then why would this older woman be patur?
They're not older.
But if a woman would be postmenopausal, would she be patur?
Okay, we're going to deal with that.
Okay.
We haven't cut. That's Elazar Genauer's question about Zokain, who can't get an erection, let's say. So we'll see. It's not so pashut. Islandess, right, that's what I'm saying. Islandess by a male or a female, it's biologically impossible. By a zaken, we'll see. By a woman who's had her uterus taken out. So we'll see what the din is there. But technically, it's not so pashut there. If it's just an elder
But
woman.
you're just saying the older woman that we're talking about is not postmenopausal.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to stop here. We'll start the Gemara. We'll start the sugya tomorrow. But I think it's a good introduction we had tonight of
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a good introduction. It's going to be a fascinating masechta. Very,
I wish we had more time.